So nothing really tops a case of the Mondays quite late breaking down yet another Patriots loss. But here we are, late Monday, close to midnight, actually. All the films broken down. Rams 28, Patriots 22. Because we're professionals here on the Pats Interference Podcast. It's week 11. We got a lot of losses. We got even more bad football. But we press on. And yes, we're grateful there might be a bye week around the corner. But for now, we are grateful for you and for two people in particular because we will get to the offense and the defense. And we've got what would NFL film say? And we got game balls. Actually, not game balls. We have We Need to Talk, which goes in place of the game balls because the Patriots did not win. No mailbag today. But the two people I want to thank right off the top are two listeners to this show who made possible the raising of more than $1,000 for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, which if you listened last week, you heard we were auctioning off 2 tickets to this game that were donated by Nick Roy, who will be on the show soon. Nick, I'm going to reach out to you soon. We're going to make this happen. And then won by our guy, Kevin Wallace, who donated $525 of his own money and then got his father to match all that money going to LLS for $1,050. And he got a 20th row seat, I think it was in the end zone, to this loss. Yeah, sure. But did a great deed and got to a football game. And I brought together two strangers to me, two strangers to themselves, whatever way you want to spin it around, to raise money for a good cause. So, yeah, we got some bad football. But damn, that was all of our good deeds for the day, for the week, for however long you want to count it. Thank you to Nick and Kevin for making that possible. Kevin also will be on the show at some point if we can make it work. This weekend has been quite busy for your boy, so we will press on. One more housekeeping note. As I said, no mailbag today. We are going to record later this week with Ted Johnson, and that'll be a little bit earlier. It's going to be Wednesday. So we'll do a little bit of, Rams recap because he and I were texting the other day. Actually, the other day, it was last night, was responding to my column about how I'm sick of doing the Patriots got outcoached columns, but here we go. Jerod Mayo, what are we doing? And we'll get into that defensive plan in a second. Anyway, Ted will be on the show. He'll have thoughts. We'll get you ready for Miami over the weekend. And spoiler alert, I will have another edition of Travel Tales at the very end of this episode, the Monday night episode next week. And in that episode, I will be telling you about going to a University of Miami game because I bought 2 tickets for myself and my cousin who goes to UM and just turned 21. So hijinks will be had later, maybe for the show, maybe not. But the point is, I bought those tickets on Game Time, which is a sponsor of the podcast. And even if they weren't, I go to Game Time like I did for all my tickets because they've got a lowest price guarantee. And I don't care if you're buying tickets to UM football games, to Patriots games, Celtics games, hockey, whatever. Go to Game Time because with the Game Time picks, their new feature, it filters out all of the fluff and you get a lowest price guarantee where if you find a lower price elsewhere, it's 110% of the difference credited back to you from Game Time. You're not getting that anywhere else. So again, whether you're going to concerts or shows or sports or whatever, go to Game Time now where you can also get a seat view before you step foot in the stadium. I did this to see exactly where I will be Saturday at noon. Spoiler again, beer in hand with my cousin watching UM play Wake Forest. So download the Game Time app today, create an account, use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. I wish I still had this. I already used mine. Terms to apply. Again, create an account at Game Time and redeem code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Now, let's get to the football, shall we? So 2 things when we start off the top. We're going to go big picture, get to the offense, defense, tiny bit of special teams. I'm not going to do the in-game management stuff. I'll tell you right off the top. I will say I disapproved of Jerod Mayo not going for a touchdown, 4th and goal at the 2-yard line. I disapproved of him not going for 2, down 9. 12 and a half minutes left. We covered this a few weeks ago when he did the opposite in Jacksonville. And I said the benefit when you're down 9 and you have to go for 2 at some point is if you miss it early, at least you have more time to make up for it. If you kick the extra point, we're only down 1 possession. Well, you still have to get the 2 points. And if you miss it with a minute or 2 left, you don't have a plan B. That's it. You're over. You don't have any time. The thing is, clock management, in-game management, content, podcast radio, I think is among the most boring that we have out there. So I will spare you the debate over if you disagree with me, cool. You're right. I'm going to sit here and tell myself that I'm right and we can pick or disagree with whatever model we want and move on. So that's what it is. I thought he screwed up. If you think otherwise, cool. And again, what would NFL film say? And we'll do We Need to Talk at the end. No mailbag. We will get to your mailbag questions later this week with Ted Johnson. So big picture. This is a reminder I think is very helpful for everyone, whether you're like me, breaking down every single play every Monday, coming to you with all the nuggets and information I have, or you're just on Sunday sitting there slumping into your couch at the end of the fourth quarter being like, Drake Maye threw an interception and I'm not even mad at him because it doesn't feel like his fault. And who wants to be mad at the rookie quarterback, right? You sound like a dick. The guy's 22. He's doing his best. He's actually doing really well. It's not his fault. The reminder I would give you is this. At 3-8, the Patriots are exactly where they should be. They're a bad football team with bad roster talent, a rookie head coach who, yes, is screwing up, a rookie quarterback, for all intents and purposes, a rookie offensive coordinator, and very much, at least on Sunday, a rookie defensive coordinator who watched Sean McVay run circles around him, in my opinion, in real time. And then after I watched the film again today, in that 28-22 loss. So that's the reminder. As bad as this feels, this is exactly where they should be, given who's playing, given who's coaching, given who's not playing, and where they are in year one of a rebuild. It probably doesn't make you feel any better when you have a false start in 4th and 1. Thank you very much, Jalen Polk, who also false started when the Patriots were about to take a delay of game, but details. It's just to say, when we first started doing this podcast in August, ahead of the season, like in-season content, the reminder I gave you was the over-under, their projected win total was 4.5. Lowest in the NFL. And whenever they get their next win, which could be Sunday in Miami, they'll have not only matched last year's total with Bill Belichick, and whatever roster talent, whatever you thought of it back then, they will be one win away from surpassing that and going over with at least 5-6 games, whatever it is to go. So just to keep in mind, 3-8, it's frustrating. It's a bummer. I wish I was studying better football, but this is where everyone expected them to be. Number 2. So for a game that I wrote immediately after, Ted was texting me about this column about the defense, and we'll get into more details about this later, that I pinned mostly on the coaching. Quarterback gets strip sacked. That turnover leads immediately to a touchdown. Not his fault. He throws a pick at the end. I'm not going to blame him. He deserves some grace. 6 games. The thing I would say is, well, why doesn't that grace go to the defensive head coach? He's a rookie too. He's only 35. Well, Jerod Mayo, in my opinion, and I wrote this, should know better. It's not that the Rams came in as solid favorites and beat you in your own house. It was they beat you in a way that, as someone who grew up in the school of Bill Belichick defense, should know you can't let them beat you playing anything other than left-handed. And that's exactly what they did. Cooper Kupp goes off. Puka Nacua goes off. And I get these are elite guys. Like, I don't play fantasy anymore, but I know I would be reaching for one, if not both of them at some point, because they're among the best receivers in the league. But if you're the Patriots and you're looking at the scouting report of the then 4-5 Rams, going, they're desperate, it's a short week, they're banged up, they're traveling across the country, we should have an edge. If we just do this, we should win. This was stop Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. And so I've got some details in the back end of this. It goes back to Thursday. And let's just do it right now. It's not like super consequential, but I think it feeds into the mindset and helps me understand going here. We'll just jump ahead to the big stat and then we'll go backtrack. Christian Gonzalez, right, is your number one plan A antidote for Nacua or Cooper Kupp. You'd love to clone him. We can't. We're not there yet. Or it's not ethical. I don't know what's possible. There's a lot going on with AI. But Christian Gonzalez, for now, on Sunday, could only cover one of them. And yet, when the Patriots were in man-to-man coverage, they did this 16 times. He only covered Kupp or Nacua on 7 of them. And on those plays, shockingly, the Patriots did pretty well. 33% success rate allowed. Just over 5 yards per play. But when Gonzalez, more than half the time, was not covering 2 of the best receivers in the league, not to mention the entire Rams team, they went off. They had a 66% success rate. They had almost 150 yards, looking at over 10 yards per play and 3 touchdowns. So this was not a case of, did they do enough man? Did they do enough zone? It was, you're not putting your best players in their best, and you're letting their best players run over you. Oh, and by the way, you didn't run a single double team. So a lot there for the defensive part. But stepping back, Thursday, here's the background. So once every 2 weeks, the assistant coaches, and this is true for every NFL market and every NFL, beat, the media in that particular, covering that particular team. The assistant coaches are required to speak with reporters once every 2 weeks. The Patriots now recently split theirs up. So 1 week get the offensive assistants, 1 week get the defensive assistants. And in this current plan and iteration, the Patriots have their assistants walk over, down a hallway, open a couple of doors to the media workroom, which is attached to the facility at Gillette. So we wait. Each of these guys goes in a different media workroom. It's a larger space, but you have smaller offices. I've got one with Doug for the Herald. The Globe has one. Mike Reese is, just giant throne. Like the guy has his own setup. It's just, I'm kidding, but ESPN does have an office. Mass Live, NBC Sports Boston. And the reason I bring this up is because the assistants go in each one of these rooms. And you walk around, there's a 15-minute window, talk to whom you want. So last Thursday, I go into the room where cornerbacks coach Mike Pellegrino was in. I think it was Mike Reese's room. He was next to the throne. You couldn't even, you couldn't even look at Mike. It was just the spectacle of this gold throne that Mike has brought around with him wherever he goes. Again, kidding. But I wanted to talk to Mike Pellegrino for two reasons. Number one, I was working on the story I teased last week about a last-minute change Bill Belichick made before Super Bowl 53. The Patriots scrapped their entire game plan right before they flew down to the Super Bowl. He installs one of the greatest game plans ever ahead of a Super Bowl. Inspires the greatest defensive performance. What did Mike remember about that? How did it happen? Yada, yada. Wrote the story, teased it. It's out. Read it if you haven't. Number two, I wanted to ask him about their increasingly high rate of man coverage. Being like, okay, this is the middle of the season. This is clearly how you want to play. And you're really good at it. 71% in Chicago against Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen. Worked like gangbusters. Like, this is it, right? This is the formula. And he says to me two things. One, well, everyone's got man beaters. You got to be very careful. Route concepts, plays, motions to unshackle themselves, offenses, receivers from man coverage. So if you're just in man the whole time, teams are going to dial stuff up against you. Okay, but that's why you practice against it. And not immediately thereafter, but a couple minutes later, he goes, DeMarcus Robinson, we got a number on him for his 40 time, whenever he ran it in college. But that's way too slow. He's fast. He's big. He's crafty at the top of his routes. He's a problem. DeMarcus Robinson, you might notice, we don't call him Cooper Kupp. We don't call him Puka Nacua because he's not either one of those guys. He is the Rams' number 3 receiver. And so I bring this up to say, on the last play of the last meaningful Rams drive, okay, right before they kneel the clock out, it's a third down. There's a bunch set to the left. At the point of this bunch, which is basically a triangle, so the top of this equilateral triangle is DeMarcus Robinson. And whether it was by the play design called in by DeMarcus Covington, the defensive coordinator, or a pre-snap check made by Jalen Hawkins, you can clearly see gesture. This is just about 2.5 minutes left in the game. The Patriots doubled DeMarcus Robinson. Cooper Kupp gets singled up. At least Christian Gonzalez was on him this time. And Puka Nacua gets singled up. And Nacua gets the target. We're going to see how long I can keep calling him Nacua because it just feels so GD, unnatural. Puka gets the target. Puka gets the target. It's deep down the left sideline. It's incomplete for Jonathan Jones. But the Patriots doubled DeMarcus Robinson. So when they're playing a high rate of man coverage, it finished just below 60% in passing downs. And on fewer than half of those snaps, Christian Gonzalez is actually on a receiver that you and I would think is the most dangerous to the Patriots, but he's not. I don't know if it's they had an overly healthy respect for DeMarcus Robinson, but if it wasn't that, it was the fact that they had too much respect for Sean McVay, who even still ran circles around them because we don't even need to get into the deeper numbers and the average of this and that, how they, when the Patriots basically went base personnel, he threw for over 200 yards. I'll get to that in a second. And when they ran the ball against the Patriots later personnel, it was over 6 yards a carry. It's just the fact that they had 4 touchdown drives in 5 possessions in the middle quarters, second and third. And the field goal drive in the middle was a chip shot that probably should have been a touchdown. So that's 5 straight drives that Sean McVay goes, oh, so this is your plan. You're going to keep Christian Gonzalez in the boundary, which I wrote about after the game, and have rewatched today and really haven't been moved off of my stance that was a mistake. This is my adjustment. And what do the Patriots do? 0, zip, not. That's unacceptable. That's the part where if you're at home, slumping in the couch, pissed, throwing whatever at your TV, I don't know, even Kevin and his dad having a great time going to the game, just in the corner being like, how's Christian Gonzalez not on one of these guys? I don't know. I don't have a great answer for you, but that's the information that leads me. Either they have a great respect for their number 3 receiver that's way too healthy, because again, the Patriots, according to Jalen Hawkins, who might have called that double against DeMarcus Robinson, told me after the game, we didn't cover any doubles. We didn't call them. We're in the game plan. And I'm going, if you put Christian Gonzalez on one guy, Cooper Kupp, who we saw on a lot of third downs in the second half, when they finally did just a little bit, and then you double Puka Nacua. Like, what's Matt Stafford supposed to do? Not a whole lot. And the problem wasn't they weren't playing enough man. Again, almost 60% man for this defense. So I watched the film. I wrote the column last night, and I still agreed largely with what happened. And here's the other big problem. It's not just this particular plan, and coaches have bad plans, and we can forgive them, we move on. But this is the part where, again, Jerod Mayo doesn't deserve the same grace. He played 8 years. He coached 5 years under Bill Belichick. Under the do your job and dismiss the media, the next commandment for the school of thought is take away your opponent's strength. And instead, they let them run wild. And the Patriots, with their strength, by parking Christian Gonzalez in the boundary in the short side of the field, where Sean McVay goes, oh, he's not moving, huh? We'll just throw over here opposite him. This is a complete abandonment of what makes this defense, what made this defense once upon a time great. Instead, you're 30th by DVOA. In games like Sundays, you deserve it. Here's the other big problem. And honestly, this is a bigger issue than one bad game plan. I mentioned the Rams threw whenever the Patriots kind of beefed up in personnel, right? It's a bad run defense. What's our solution? More fat guys, more linebackers, more linemen. We're going to play 3-4. This is their most common personnel grouping. Let's just pull up the stat for you right here because I have it. 43% of their plays on defense and base personnel, 27% in three-corner nickel, and then dime, which was just basically whenever they got them into third down or obvious passing situations, okay? So their solution was we're going to beef up. We're going to stop this decent Rams running game. When they did that, the Rams threw a dozen times, and Matt Stafford had something like 295 yards. When they threw against base personnel, the Rams had 217 yards and 3 touchdowns for an average of 18.1 yards per play. Because when the Patriots are in that base personnel, only 4 defensive backs and a big 3-4 front up front, they can't stop the pass. But when they go, okay, we'll sub out one of those linemen. We'll sub out one of those linebackers. And we'll play in sub packages. Like normal base defense has been for a decade in the NFL. Nickel personnel, 5 defensive backs. Well, the Rams go, we'll just run on you. And they did for 6.1 yards per carry. So big picture, what makes this a bad team that's both comforting but also kind of a bummer? It's the talent, and it's the coaching, and it's the fact that they just have a fundamental issue. When we go big, we can't stop the pass. When we go small, we can't stop the run. And the Rams ran and passed on them just by doing the opposite, whatever the Patriots had geared up to do. So there's nothing Jerod Mayo can really do about that. When the talent is the talent, Jaquelin Roy's out there. Christian Ellis had 2 pressures. He was the only guy to have 2 pressures. This is the guy who not only wasn't here in New England a year ago, but when he did arrive from Philly as a waiver claim, was only in the special teams meetings. That's a starting inside linebacker, had 2 pressures. No one else had more than that. No one else even had 2. Okay? That's the talent they're dealing with. But the talent they do have, Christian Gonzalez, was so mismanaged that you let the Rams do whatever they want simply by formationing him out of the play. Oh, he's in the boundary? We'll put our tight ends over there. And they did that over and over again from the second quarter, third quarter to the start of their last drive. 18-yard gain for Cooper Kupp, working the slot, right side of the field. Because Christian Gonzalez, where was he? The left side, away from one of the best receivers in football, who, granted, the Patriots could still win, but it had nothing to do with Jerod Mayo. Nothing to do with Christian Gonzalez. Certainly not to Marcus Covington. It was all about Drake Maye. Now, before we get to Drake Maye, who was great, this is the best game, bar none. 30 of 40, 282 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. I would tell you, if I had remembered last week to do our prize picks of the week, to take more than Drake Maye 0.5 touchdown passes, because it's a layup. And if you, like me, believe in Drake Maye or certain other players on the Patriots, or maybe even facing them, play Prize Picks. It's America's #1 daily fantasy sports app where you can win real money all season long, regardless of what the Pats do, regardless of what I advise. You just pick your players, look at the stats, and go more or less and build a lineup. You just need 2 players to build a lineup. And it could be passing yards, it could be rushing yards, it could be goals scored, it could be points for the Celtics if you're watching it a late night. Just download Prize Picks today, because when you make as few as 4 correct picks, you can win up to 100 times your money by looking at the players, looking at the stats, and each one going more or less. And that's it. And when you sign up today with code CLNS, you get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's $50 for putting down 5, which you might win and double or triple anyway, but only at Prize Picks, where you can also now use Venmo. I do. It takes 15 minutes. You put your money in, get it back in, back out just as quickly but only if you sign up today with PrizePicks. Code CLNS, get a $50 deposit bonus as soon as you play $5. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly once you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Drake Maye, a lot of mores for him. Again, 30 of 40, 282 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. His most accurate game of the season, 81.6 adjusted completion percentage. This was a game where he was good pre-snap, he was good post-snap. He created outside of structure, but he played on time. He evaded pressure, but didn't scramble too much, where you risk the unnecessary hits that really kind of get you into trouble and maybe have a concussion, maybe not. And he did this with his trademark deep ball, which we've been talking about. He brings an element to this offense that was just non-existent the last 3 years, where he's able to strike deep because of his arm talent on platform, off platform. The defenses have to respect that. You kind of spook them out of this, loading the box, certain defenses. But he didn't do that. He didn't complete a single deep ball against the Rams. And in fact, he only completed 3 passes beyond 10 yards past the line of scrimmage. But within this game plan that said, hey, we're going to play short. You got to live there because they're bringing a lot of pressure. They're using new schemes that Alex Van Pelt said during the week. Hey, I've been around since like the 90s. I haven't seen some of this stuff in years. Okay. And he made it work anyway. Against the blitz, this is the big number, 10 of 14 for 95 yards, a touchdown, and a sack. That to me says I know where it's coming from. That says I know where my outlets are. I understand when the defensive end is going to drop into where my hot read should be. I can still zip it in to Kayshon Boutte for a 13-yard gain on 2nd and 12, backed up in the shadow of my own goal line, and start this drive that ends in their last scoring drive of the game. So it wasn't just to play against pressure. It wasn't just playing on time. And it wasn't just obviously the, extended plays. It was the whole thing, man. Like, this is the deeper we get into the Drake Maye experience, I keep telling you, this rookie game is going to come. He's going to have a dumb decision here, bad pick there, and he needs to protect the ball. Like, the pick was a miscommunication between him and Demario Douglas, a misread here or there. Pop told me that there was no read there. He just ran one route. He never looked for the ball. But whatever happened there, it might have been his fault, might have been Drake's. Who knows? The strip sack, Drake just gets clocked. Okay? He's still got to protect the ball. But Drake carrying this team with 4 scoring drives over the last 35 minutes, during which time the Patriots trailed the entire time, and his running game goes from 5 yards a carry in the first half to 3.2 yards a carry in the second half, makes it all the more impressive that as much as Jerod Mayo's on the sideline and be like, we got control of this game, the Rams go, we're shutting down your run game. We're extending leads to 28-13. And you've got a rookie quarterback who can't lean on his run game, and we get to blitz and tee off on with one of the best young fronts in football, according to you. That's control. But Drake Maye fought back. He did so inside of structure, on time, outside of structure. And their last scoring drive might have taken too long. And of course, he threw the pick at the end, and that's what matters most. But his ability to create and throw off platform and do all the things they need him to do are no longer luxuries. These are essentials for an offense that otherwise is not creating explosive plays, which they did when he extended a play and took a hit on a 28-yard gain to Demario Douglas in the first half. And it's certainly not overcoming well-defended plays when he's scrambling, and he did just 3 times. If not for Maye, he is still the offense. It's not perfect. In instances like this, people like me, podcast, media, whatever, tend to go a little overboard. But this game was his best. He was the reason they were still in this. Not anyone on defense, not anyone on the coaching staff. It was Drake Maye. All right, let's get into the rest of the offense. Good game for Alex Van Pelt. And look, if you can't hear me say that without cringing, that's not a me problem. That's a you problem. Okay? Because I didn't say perfect. I just said a good game for Alex Van Pelt. It wasn't just the 22 points. It wasn't the new season high in yards. It was the success rate of 59%, which if you want to know how good that is, just look at the Rams and consider how good they looked. Because they had the same exact success rate, 58.9. I'm rounding up, okay, for both offenses. The issue, of course, the 2 turnovers. 1 strip sack in your own territory, the pick at the very end. That was a big difference. Higher explosive play rate for the Rams. But when you stay on schedule as much as you do with a 59, I'll say again, 59% success rate, that's 60% of the time. 3 out of every 5 plays, you're getting enough yards or more than enough yards to stay ahead of the chains. You can run or pass whenever you want. Best part about that was Alex Van Pelt put this game in Drake Maye's hands. First 4 first down snaps, all passes. 11 of the first 15 plays, all passes. Okay. They emphasize the middle of the field. Again, you heard those numbers. Most of his passes were within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage, only 3 completions beyond that. So that meant feeding Hunter Henry. It meant feeding Demario Douglas. It meant feeding Austin Hooper. That's where they've got to live. It's the most valuable real estate in football. Okay. High percentage football. And for what it's worth, you look, it took 11 weeks, 11 games, whatever. I think they finally calibrated what their target diet and share needs to be. Not only from a quarterback standpoint, who does Jacoby like to throw to? Who does Drake like to throw to? But who does Alex Van Pelt realize he needs to emphasize in what ways? It's Hunter Henry and Demario Douglas. Those two dudes, far and away, your best receivers. Play them more, throw to them more. They finally are doing that. Lo and behold, the day they do that the most, after last week in Chicago, and they were both featured, the Patriots produce. So they go pass heavy early. They've got a diversified run game. I tweeted this out earlier today. A couple of nice counter runs, 10 yards, 9-yard run, Ramondre Stevenson. Van Pelt didn't have a lot of answers in the second half when LA changed some of their fronts to unlock more of the running game. Again, they got stuffed in short yardage. I don't think it's as much of a scheme thing as like, look, they're 6 feet. Like you got to convert 3rd and goal at the 2 or, 3rd and 1. Whatever it is, getting close to the end zone. That's man on man. You just got to bring it. They couldn't do it. I did think he took a little bit too long, got a little conservative in the second half. But if you're him, you go, okay, well, we can't hold up in pass protection. We gave up, let's see what the Rams pressure rate was. 41.6% of their dropbacks, the Patriots invited pressure. So the more that we just straight drop back, as good as Drake Maye has been, we put this game in his hands to start and it worked out. We got a lead. You're going to invite a sack or a negative play the longer you do that. So I think that's why he mixed in those runs on that last scoring drive that took more than 6 minutes in the fourth quarter. Again, still would like to see a little bit more tempo. Just go a little bit quicker, give yourself more time on the clock. But the Patriots got the ball back at the end with a chance to win. They just didn't do it. So statistically, their best offensive performance of the season. That is more than anything a byproduct of improved quarterback play and better coaching. Not to mention, the man schemed up a fat guy touchdown. So I don't think Darian Lowe, who again had 3 pressures, is the only one celebrating. We all got to watch that man catch a touchdown all by his lonesome in the end zone. It's a big win for the rest of us. Other player stats. Kendrick Bourne, 70 yards, doubled his season total in receiving yards. Also had more than every other receiver combined. Why was that? Well, Jalen Polk stunk. Javon Baker played 5 snaps, 1 more than Chicago. And aside from that, Kayshon Boutte was And I know some folks are upset with me going, about Kayshon Boutte so far. But if you're going to play 96, 97% of the snaps for a team with the worst receiving core in football, got to give me more than 4 catches and 33 yards. Like this is just an expectation thing. If I thought you totally sucked, I would say so. That's not what I'm saying. They just need to get more from him or someone at that position. They can't do it. They were glad to have Kendrick Bourne. I will say this, and he's been on the show. We talk about him a lot. His chemistry with Drake Maye is very evident, even a week after he was completely benched in Chicago. And it's not just about the 5 catches, 70 yards, caught all of his targets. It's about the how and when of those targets. Okay. 10-yard touchdown. That's a catch in the red zone. First catch of the game. We're going to scheme this for you specifically. Last catch along the sideline. 18-yard back shoulder was basically a 2-minute drill. Maye goes to him. That says, I can trust you. We've done this before. Even if we haven't done it a lot, I know you're good enough to make this happen. And sometimes you're wrong. He didn't have a catch against the Jets in that similar situation. But that, to me, forces a really difficult question on the Patriots coaching staff because Jalen Polk played 31 snaps. Higher than you thought, right? And they need to decide, okay, we think he's going to be a good player. We're giving him more opportunities. But this dude has more penalties than catches since October 1st. 4 penalties, 3 catches. In the false start, again, happened at 0-0 on the play clock. So it would have been a delay game anyway. And the schemed up thing, 4th and 1, they should have just gone for it in a real way. They didn't, whatever. But that's a problem. So I don't know what their answer is going to be. We're going to find out this week. The good news, even with Boutte being Polk being Baker being and Bourne being good, Patriots finally got some efficiency out of 11 personnel. Before it was just 12 personnel. We talked about this before. That's the way Alex Van Pelt wants to play. You see it in gotta have it situations. You see it close to the red zone. Not necessarily a 2-minute drill because you got to go tempo, but that's the way he wants to play offense. when they post a success rate as they did on Sunday of, let's see what it is, 57.5% from 11 personnel, that gives Alex Van Pelt and the rest of the staff more confidence to say, hey, we can roll with more 3 receiver sets than we have been. Now, they also had a very nice 69% success rate from 12 personnel, but we'll move on. Those being 2 tight end sets. As to the tight ends, again, Hunter Henry over the middle of the field, money, may trust him. It's a good thing that he does. 2 run stuffs, didn't love that. They had 4 in the game. You could maybe argue to give him a third. It's a really bad run blocking game from Hunter Henry. Austin Hooper, according to some in the locker room, was banged up after the game. That will be key to watch because, again, Patriots want to play with 2 tight ends who can run block and catch. One's out. What are you going to do? Because Jaheim Bell, not exactly a guy you can count on to run block or catch passes when he's running slant patterns. So there's that. Up front, Michael Jordan, left guard, only O-lineman to escape with a clean sheet, meaning no pressures allowed, no run stuffs allowed. Defenses are still attacking him in stunts and twists. Same could be said for center Ben Brown, who, like Austin Hooper, was seen left hobbling a little bit, and we'll see what that brings in practice this week. Rough day in pass protection for the tackles. Vidarian Lowe already said 3 pressures allowed. Demontre Jacobs, I had him down for 4, a sack and 3 hurries. Ben Brown also 3 sack, quarterback hit, and a hurry. Drake Maye, I thought, invited a quarterback hit and a hurry. 1 for Michael Wanu, good game. Ramondre Stevenson had 1 hurry allowed. Not a lot of shake and bake from him. And it's not just because, again, they diversified the run game. Good ongoing trends like we saw in Chicago. 3 missed tackles forced. He has 7 in the last 3 weeks. That's the same total as he had 4 weeks ago in 1 game against the Jets, who blew, according to ESPN, 20 tackles in that 1 game. But I wonder if he's starting to feel a little bit worn down because I wrote my film review for the Herald. There wasn't a lot of difference between him and Antonio Gibson. And Stevenson got many more reps. And Gibson was fresh because he basically didn't play against the Bears in Chicago. But it's just something to monitor. You want a little bit more juice, a little more, I can create this on my own. Like we saw a lot from Stevenson, obviously in the opener against the Jets and some spurts. But I'm curious about his workload moving forward. I think that about covers it for the offense. Protection, we talked about the running backs. We did the receivers. Drake, again, was great. Play action rate was about 24% higher than normal. Not off the charts production, but you like to see that continue to go up and up. The issue wasn't staying on schedule. I think that's the reason Jerod really said they felt in control, right? They were ahead of the chains. They were moving. This is how they need to play. He's got to learn, though, that time of possession means virtually nothing. Like the quantity of time does not compare, just like in life, to the quality of the time. Okay, the Rams scored quickly. Boom, boom. Whether they had short fields or explosive plays or neither, or whatever it was, they got on the board. That's what counts. It's cool the Patriots like marched and marched and marched and marched and marched. Did you win at the end? More often than not, no. Their red zone efficiency 205. The Rams 304. Okay, let's get to the defense. I talked a lot about this. Again, when the Patriots went big, the Rams threw for 217 of, I've got the actual stats right here. Let me pull these out. So when the Patriots went base personnel, 43% of the time, good job stopping the run. Good job. When they had to defend the pass, they gave up 217 yards. It was 295. Why did I even bother to look this up? Of Matthew Stafford's passes. And so that was a big problem. 27% in 3-corner nickel package, 20% in dime, 8% in 3 safety nickel. They really weren't playing any 3 safety because when the Rams brought on a third receiver, they brought on a third corner. The other thing they did, and this was as curious as not having Christian Gonzalez, even at a part-time, talking third down, red zone, 2-minute drill, shadowing, just one of Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua. It was blitzing Matthew Stafford, who had a 97.1 passer rating against the blitz going into kickoff. Okay. They blitzed him on 59%. This is an insane rate. 59% of his dropbacks. What did he do against that? Well, let me tell you. 10.9 yards per play and an offensive success rate lower than I thought, but still 50 and still a problem because included in that success rate was 69-yard touchdown to Cooper Kupp, a 5-yard touchdown to Cooper Kupp, and maybe the Puka. the Puka touchdown, which I would have to go back and watch. But just a head scratcher all around. I'm not going to go here and say, oh my God, this is the worst defensive game plan I've ever seen. Like Sean McVay called a really good game and adjusted in a way the Patriots just didn't have any answers for. I wish they got to some answers, tried something new and something different. But when you have a bad offensive line opposite you, as the Patriots did facing the Rams on Sunday, the solution, yeah, sometimes it is to rush 5. Guarantee single blocks. Someone's going to win one-on-one. But if you're also refusing to help with a double team or safety over the top or whatever it might be, any kind of like loose bracket on one of 2 excellent receivers, and you're going to keep your one good corner, your one playmaker on one side of the field, probably just rush 4 and then provide that help. Because I don't get this plan of bringing all that blitz pressure, and they did get a little creative, at Matthew Stafford. Because it didn't work. Okay? And again, when Gonzalez, we're not even going to say the stats again. You know, I'm going to tell you the stats again. Patriots still played at the same rate of blitz, 59%. They played 59% man. Okay? Less than half the time when they were in man-to-man coverage. Christian Gonzalez, I got to drive this home, was not covering Cooper Kupp. Excuse me. Less than half the time he was covering Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua. Okay? The Patriots gave up 5.1 yards per attempt and a success rate of 33%. Really good. Really good. You'd like to see more of that, right? Well, more than half the time he was not when the Patriots played man-to-man, covering Coop or Nacua. Here's what happened. The Patriots gave up 16.2. I think I said it was above 10. I was way off. 16.2 yards per attempt. When the Patriots were in man and Christian Gonzalez was, let's just say it, dicking around with Demarcus Robinson or Tutu Atwell, because why the hell not? And you know what Matthew Stafford said? I'm going to throw it to 2 of my best receivers covered by some of your worst corners. And that's what happened. So anyway, a lot of blitz, a lot of man, no pressure. Patriots did not get one single pressure when they did not blitz. Here were the pressures. Christian Ellis had 2. Keon White had 1. Anthony Jennings had 1. And then he got 1 each from Christian Gonzalez, blitzing on a 3rd down in a 2-minute drill before halftime, as did Del Pettis. Couple of run stuffs for the whole team. Jonathan Jones, Keon White had the only pass deflections. Kyle Duggar, my man, had missed 3 games with an ankle injury. It's a bummer. He was a game-time decision for one of those and just missed it. He had 3 missed tackles and 3 real tackles. Not good. But the good news was, and shit, what is it, 37 minutes into this? Christian Barmore played football again on Sunday. And this was huge. I had my doubts. I said it on TV, thankfully not as definitively as I was thinking on my head. This guy has not practiced in pads, been in pads since January. How the hell is he going to play on Sunday? Well, good one, Callahan, because Christian Barmore not only played, he played 21 snaps in his season debut. 14 as a pass rusher, 7 against the run. He had 3 tackles, 0 pressures, but taking the win by and of itself was a win after this man was diagnosed with blood clots, shortness of breath, and just a real difficult time, swelling calf, as he told reporters after the game on Sunday. So it's great to see him back. I had no expectations based on the film that I watched and understanding everything he's been through and the lack of practice that he's had for Christian Barmore moving forward. Clearly, they're comfortable, which means not only the coaches, but the doctors with him playing football. Thumbs up from me. They know way better than I do. I hope the best is still yet to come for Christian Barmore. That aside, the pressure was an issue. And we talked last week. 9 sacks. Big deal. Great job. Pass rush. Really started with coverage. We broke it down. When the coverage faltered, as it did, no thanks to the game plan, so did the production from the pass rush. But this was bad. And when you start in the back, you look at Jonathan Jones. Gave up 3 catches, including the Nacua touchdown. I keep going back and forth in Nacua Puka. The Kupp touchdown, 69-yarder. He gave up 4 catches, most of the team. Was in coverage on Matthew Stafford's incompletion, the last throw that he attempted. But Stafford regularly beat pressure, whether it got there or it didn't. And this was just a game where you go, I don't get it. I don't get it. And I was saying it in the press box to Doug, Mike Giardi. Maybe it's why we wrote similar things, but that's just your going. Christian Gonzalez has got to cover somebody. They disagreed. Last couple notes. Yannick Ngakoue played 14 snaps. Welcome to New England. 11 as a pass rusher. Came inches shy of a hurry. This was one of those rewind, go back and forth. Did he get a hurry? Did he not? Was Stafford affected? In those instances, tie for me usually goes to nope. It's one of those, that age-old Supreme Court ruling. When you see it, we're not talking porn. We're just talking football pressure, okay? And so I didn't give him one. Others might disagree. I think he will get better, but I would be surprised if he plays more early downs than he did Sunday because his whole career, the book has been, and it's been a very good book. He's a pass rusher and not much else. That's why he's bounced around to now his 7th team in 9 years. But Ngakoue, I mean, their second best pass rusher or worse right now behind Keon White. I think that's it. Other than that, Marco Wilson got released today. He played 9 snaps, not extensively. Thank you, Adam Schefter. He was involved in a couple of coverage busts, which I'll end on this for the defensive part because we talked about the man beaters, and it's not just the plays themselves that they're run, but there's a lot of motion involved when you defend the Rams and Sean McVay. And if you were to have Christian Gonzalez shadow Puka Nacua or Cooper Kupp, he's going to get involved in a lot of those. And it doesn't mean he just gets tired, but you're going to have last-second decisions forced upon him and any corner that's nearby. Are we switching? Or are we going inside and out? Who do you have? Does it depend on the route? Or are we just going to keep trying to have this, even though that whoever has a head start, meaning the receiver, has an advantage right now? Those are things to sort out. Well, Marco Wilson in his 9 snaps gave up 2 catches or was involved in a bust in which he and another corner gave up 2 catches. I don't think that's why he's on the street today, and I'm sure he'll land with another team soon. But I also don't think it was a non-factor. So those are things to consider. These are also schemes and motions where when the Patriots were in zone, you would see this left to right motion. Nacua comes across the formation. They snap the ball in that little Miami cheat motion, right? And he goes outside the receiver on the right side. And he starts on the left, goes behind the line of scrimmage. There's a receiver on the right, and he wheels around that receiver. And what that forces the corner to do on that right side, watching Nacua incoming, is to widen out, okay? So he goes in the Nacua, he's got a head full of steam, and he's going up the sideline. He's outside that receiver who started on that side. And with that receiver who's on the right, as the Nacua comes over from left to right, he just goes up, takes 5 steps, turns around. Because his guy got widened out and taken off by a new guy. And when they're in zone, that stretches out the zone as intended and leaves him open space. So they hit them over and over and over again. That's a concept. I'm just going to say watch Sunday at Miami. This is something the Dolphins did a year ago in New England, not their last matchup, but 2 seasons ago, 2023, week 2, over and over again. They love that spot. Slot, they can tell you're in zone, we're going to widen you out. No one's trailing. Just a little curl, easy money. They did it a whole lot. So Marco Wilson, not the reason that you were cut, but didn't help. Special teams. Blocked extra point in the 4th quarter. Can't have it. I mean, this is the 2nd block kick, including a field goal against Seattle. Patriots have had this year. Jeremy Springer, special teams coordinator, came from the Rams. Guys in the locker room supposedly told reporters afterward that they saw this on tape, and it was pressure given up between Lycia Smith and DeMontre Jacobs, offensive linemen who were on the right side of the field goal block, and they stuck through and jumped up, and you can't have it because that made that a 2-possession game. And 12 minutes ago, you would think that might have been the game right there. Patriots obviously get the ball back, force 2 punts later with Christian Gonzalez covering Cooper Kupp. But other than that, the only things you look at on special teams were Jerod Mayo declining to kick a 54-yarder in the first half. The wind, according to the flags at the top of the stadium, this is the scintillating stuff we bring in the 44th minute of the Pass Interference podcast, was blowing in a way that was behind Joey Sly's back. But on the field, the little flags at the top of the field goal post were not going anywhere. They said, it wasn't really in our favor. Okay, well, it was either doing nothing or was at your back. They chose not to do it. Sly had an inconsistent warm-up. That, to me, probably was the overriding factor. Whatever. If it's on the line, punt. I don't love it. I get it, though. The other thing about special teams on Sunday is Javon Baker got yanked off of kick return, and he had a kick return to start the game that went 46 yards. And Jerod's telling reporters this morning in a video conference, hey, we didn't really know what he was going to do. He didn't execute the way we wanted. And I don't know about you at home. If I'm a 4th-round rookie receiver, I play wide receiver. I'm paid to catch a football. And I played 9 snaps in the last 2 games. And that's, I don't know, off the top of my head, at least half of his season-long snaps on offense. Or maybe just under. Don't bite me for that. I am at least going to do what I'm told when I know I'm getting the ball in kick return, even if it means taking a knee. Javon Baker had other ideas. So if you're wondering why he cannot get on the field, it's because he won't obey simple instruction on a very simple play. Doesn't mean it's easy, but it is simple on kick return. Because then he got replaced by JaMychal Hasty. So no one really cares about the Patriots changing kick returners in week 11. But if you care about the future of Javon Baker, that's a moment you have to remember and be like, what's his problem? I don't know. Studs and duds. What would NFL film say? And we need to talk. Let's just do the we need to talk now. It's coaching. It's coaching. Again, I'm not going to belabor the point. If you want to be an aggressive football team, if you want to create edges as an underdog, you got to go for it. 4th and 2 at close. Trick plays if you need them. Something bold, something to inspire your locker room. And if not, you need to give them an advantage on the sideline as Sean McVay is throwing when you're big, running when you're little, and having success doing both. Because even Devon Godchaux told you, Jerod Mayo, DeMarcus Covington, actually he told us in the media, yeah, Sean McVay, great coach, outstanding coach, got a lot of respect for him. We should have won this game. And then he goes, but that's Sean McVay. It's not a shot. Maybe it's a shot. I didn't take it as a shot at his coaches, but we need to talk. Our segment in place of game balls goes to the coaches being like, if you're not doing it with your in-game management, if you're not doing it with your in-game adjustments, if you're not doing it with your initial game plans, what edge are you giving the Patriots right now? I would argue very little. What would NFL film say? Oh, I promise you studs and duds. These are in the film breakdown. Kendrick Bourne, all 5 targets, thumbs up. 70 receiving yards, double thumbs up. Drake Maye, creating outside of structure, adjusting to pressure, new season high for passing yards. Really, really good stuff. Duds, coaching, pass rush, again, below average offensive line. Got 0 pressures without blitzing. It's a problem. Jonathan Jones, tough one. I will say he was accountable. This isn't just like, oh, we talked to the media. What a brave guy. Some guys don't want to do that. After the game or a day after the game, he did both. That's a stand-up guy. Owned his mistakes. Hell, he even tweeted about it Sunday night, being, I owe my team better. Some guys wouldn't have even thought it was their fault. John Jones knows better. He's a guy you want in your locker room. That's probably why they didn't trade him. What would NFL film say? Man, I got to tell you, this is going to be quick. Not because I'm losing my voice, but in this documentary about the Patriots 2024 season, they hammer home everything that happened in Chicago. It's a big win. Okay, we talked about this 19-3 last time. I don't think they bring up the Super Bowl stuff from 6 years ago, but there is an element of Drake Maye getting to an early lead, Sean McVay coming, first time for McVay in New England, by the way, against the Patriots, back and forth, the history. I think there's a lot of emphasis on Maye. It's not only the first touchdown to Kendrick Bourne, you got the next touchdown, Darian Lowe's touchdown grab is absolutely a big part of this, probably like minute or 2 long segment within the documentary. And then you just see the Rams pull a little bit away. And it just cuts to Drake Maye's interception in a way that feels very sudden, because this is what they do when they need to get to the sad moments. And these, again, hour-long NFL Films productions of just like, oh, but they couldn't pull it away in the end. And boom, we're on to the next week. And hopefully Miami brings a little bit more excitement. It's a pretty exciting game. I take that back. But a little bit more back and forth. Because, again, the Rams led for the last 35 minutes of that game, despite the fact the Patriots had 4 scoring drives in that stretch. So that's great. Good Maye early. Good Rams in the middle. Darian Lowe touchdown. Maye pick. It's over 28-22. Maybe Devon Godchaux gets in there with we felt like we should have won this game, and we didn't. But then it goes to Miami. Typically a house of horrors. It will be a house of family bonding and 1 beer for your boy. When we come back in 36 hours, I don't know when the episode's actually going to go up, though. It will be me. It will be Ted Johnson, 3-time Super Bowl champion, answering your mailbag questions, talking about Pat's Dolphins, talking about a lot of other stuff. Plus Nick Roy, whenever I can get him on the show. Thanks to him and Kevin Wallace for raising more than $1,000 for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. You guys are awesome. Thank you for listening. Thank you for donating. Thank you for just being good people. So until then, thank you all. We'll see you next time with Ted Johnson.